So, welcome so much to Edutainment community. Today I've done a lot of live stream and I'm doing the final one for the day before I wake up tomorrow and proceed. So, people are asking me about this text of Becca's Misfortune. I did some stories, but I did not finish. Of course, it's just one story that was left because I want to go to Strange Happenings. Is it one story? I think there are about two. Yeah, we have about two stories left in it. And once I finish it, I'll be going to Strange Happenings, guys. So today, let me go through the story, Friends in Need. So welcome on board. If you are interested in literature, especially grade 7 literature, be happy to join us. I can actually narrate that story. Then after narration, we can go forth to handle the themes, styles, and character traits. Because it's a short story, we can cover that within this session. So how are you? How is your evening? Maybe it's morning in your country or a different hour. Welcome and feel free to be here. Yeah, so previously, before I stopped discussing Becca's Misfortune, we had gone through the story, the school trip. I remember we had gone through the story, the school trip, and we had also gone through the story. We had gone through the story, the floods, and we had done some other. Maybe we are left with two stories, right? All right, so let's narrate this story. Of course, Friends in Need by Crispin Ogola is a story that happens in a water-flooded area early in the morning at Woroya River. So Kasai and Nyarawa chat happily on the way to school, and it's a chilly morning. Right now it's chilly also over here. So call these children in. Where? Oh, in. Okay. All right. So Dr. Chup. All right, so welcome on the platform. We are proceeding. I had to mute the mic. There was something I was talking about and I didn't want to actually make you hear. So don't be surprised. Some of you are asking why you can't hear the sound in Anugang. All right, yo, welcome on board. We are going through a story in one of the books at grade 7. That is Becca's Misfortune. And we are on story number 5, Friends in Need by Crispin Ogola. It runs from page 55 to 61, and I was narrating what happens in the story. So Kasai and Nyamarwa are two students who are chatting on their way to school. It's a chilly morning, just like it's a chilly evening right here. So the rains had just subsided, and that early day, it was very muddy on the roads and very slippery for the students. So the routes were impassable, of course, because of the strong floods. And so students were struggling to get to school. They had to rush because if you delay, then teachers would punish them. the bridge had been carried away, right? So there is a stream in this area known as Masingo Stream, and so the bridge had been carried. So students had to use a very long way, and they had to wake up earlier than normal so that they, maneuver along the long route and get to school. So you realize that when we have floods, it's rainy, deep gullies form on the road, and what happens is that the road is totally impassable, and almost near the river it can be quite tragic. So the river had broken the banks, and the two girls were supporting each other, energizing each other to keep moving until they arrive at school. And they were talking about Mr. Alosa, who was a very, harsh teacher. They knew he could punish them. So Maguda is the leader, or rather the area leader within the place. So Maguda had to call the MP, yeah. And when he found the students struggling on the road, he decided to tell them about the floods and what was happening, and actually make them aware that it was dangerous. So we found Maguda. Maguda is part of the students, by the way, and the students called him MP because he talked a lot and he was quite vocal. So when the students caught up, Maguda caught up with them, he started talking to them and commenting about the kind of punishment they'll receive, possibly in the hands of the teachers. So Maguda really almost fell, and while falling, the girls had to help, had to assist him, and he had to get up on his feet. But then while helping, it becomes unfortunate that they almost got into a tragic accident because the road is slippery. Maguda has fallen in a trench and they are trying to help him out, but they can't. So what happened is that they had to push, but as they are pushing, they are getting deeper in the trench, the gully. And that gully was leading to a flood. And the flood was a violent one. So you can actually see two girls struggling to help the boy, and yet they are almost getting injured. So the two girls reached him and grabbed him by one of the legs and pulled him out until he was out of danger. So soon Mr. Andosa got them. There is someone known as Mr. Andosa from the village who gets to the kids as they are struggling. Now he hears that they struggle and they almost got an accident, and tells them, go back home. You don't have to go to school. I'll call the chief so that all the schools are closed down. So it's a rainy, dangerous season. So they close the schools down so that students don't have to go anymore. So what do we learn about these characters? Let's start with the first character, who is Maguda Paul. Maguda is a very appreciative individual, right? Maguda Paul, that's why they call him MP, and he was very talkative, a student just like the rest. So Maguda is quite appreciative. Like the video, guys. Inunu Guang Ag, like the video, thumbs up, and anybody else on board. So Maguda Paul was a very appreciative kind of boy, because when you check on page 60, you realize that he appreciates that the two girls saved his life, all right. Yeah, so he's quite appreciative. Then we also see that he's a jovial person, because the author tells us that all the time he was with other students, he made them laugh a lot, Yeah. So we also check on page 57. When he finds the two girls on the road, he greets them and reminds them funnily about how Mr. Losa will punish them, when they are late. And he makes their life so easy. They are laughing about before the accident almost happens. He is known for making a lot of fun. Even his name, he tells him, the rest of the students, I'm MP, because he's called Maguda Paul, right? He is also reasonable. Why do we say he's reasonable? He's reasonable because he believes that the county government should have constructed a tarmac road to prevent accidents, He's also concerned because when he wakes up and he sees that Kasai is almost also getting in another accident, he runs to save Kasai. Nyarwa. Nyarwa is the second character in this story. And what do we learn about Nyarwa? Nyarwa is very observant. Why? Nyarwa observes that the path is slippery for one to walk on properly. Page 61. When you check later elsewhere, you realize that Nyarwa was knowledgeable. Why? He realizes that the MP is little dazed and gives him a small towel. So Nyarwa is a girl, by the way. So she observed that the path was slippery and commented on that. She also went further to realize that Maguda Paul is little dazed and gives the small towel from the home science lesson so that he can wipe off the mud around him. Kasai. Kasai is the other student. Kasai is very concerned. Why? She asks Maguda Paul immediately whether he's okay so that they can rescue him on page 60. She's also concerned because she asks with concern whether MP or Maguda is hurt, right? Then we have Mr. Andosa. Thank you and like the video. Welcome to the platform and I really appreciate your presence. It means a world to me. So Mr. Andosa, the chief, is very wise and concerned. Why? On page 61, we are told that when he found that students had been almost found in an accident, he advised that the hanging point. So he advised that all schools be closed for safety of the learners. Of course, we know in a rainy place where we have something like floods, we need the safety of students. Again, he finds people who share their near-death episode and asks them to go back home instead of proceeding to school because it's not safe to be near a flooded area. He even escorts the students home and tells their parents how they almost died on the road. He promises the students that he will be asking the county government to do something about the constant floods in the area and especially during the rainy season. Now let's come to themes or concerns in this story. The first thematic concern we find is unity. Unity is the first theme. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, guys. I really bang on you for growth. Without you people, I can't grow, right? Moses is saying what? I don't understand. Have you read a story known as BEKA'S Misfortune in the first place? This is a very interesting book that is done by grade 7 students in Kenya. And today I'm doing that analysis. That is why you may not understand. But if you actually listen from the beginning or go back to the beginning, you will get the story because I did narrate the story before I began discussing the character traits of the characters within it. Now, I've finished the character traits and I'm going to thematic concerns because there are some audience who asked me to do this. So, Moses, you can actually hang on and flow with the vibe. Or you can go back to minute 1 and when you start going through, you'll understand everything that I'm talking here. So, the story, Friends Indeed, shows the theme of unity. Unity because when Kasai screams because her leg is sliding dangerously towards the gullies, Maguda tries to rescue her by stretching his hand. He then jumps towards her to help her out. That is page 58. If you check on page 59, Kasai drops the bag and Nyarwa walks carefully to her and helps her regain her balance, right? So these students are operating in unity. If they were not, they would have left one of them to drown. Page 56 up to 60 tells us that in the effort to help Kasai, Maguda fell and the heavy bag pushed him to the raging floods. And we heard the speedy flow of the gullies until his head reached the water. He found it hard to breathe. And when the two girls put effort, they were able to pull him by his leg and save him from danger, right? So it's out of unity, actually, that we are seeing the three students saving each other. The second theme that we have in this story is floods and their effect. Now, this may not appear in high school or university, But at JSS level, we have the theme of floods and their effect, and you can check that on page 53. You will see that the ground was very muddy and slippery. Second, you will see that even the long after the rains, droplets of rain still dripped from branches, shrubs, twigs, and everywhere. We also check on, within the story we are told that there was a heavy rain pour every day. We are also told on page 55 that bridges were carried away. Then there was a lot of water rolling in the gullies. We again see on page 56 Wauroya River burst its banks. We also see that water swept away all the crops during that time, and the farmers had planted for food, you know. We also see a lot of deep gullies on the road, just as students struggle to pass by, and some of that, the author says that they could swallow the children. Page 61, we see the roads becoming impassable, and students are forced to miss school because of that. The last theme in this story, the second last, is education. And of course, because we are seeing the 3 kids are headed to school on page 55, page 57 shows that the students are talking about a teacher who could punish them if they delay arriving at school. And page 55, we see that students had to wake up early than usual to go to school because they did not want to be late, right? Poor leadership or negligence was also another theme evident in the story. Why? Because we are seeing that the county government knew that this place had constant floods, but they did not make effort to build the bridges, even when it is swept away. Page 55, we see that the villagers had to construct their own footbridges. Page 61, the chief is forced to talk to the government about doing something about this area because they have neglected it totally. Now let's finish with stylistic devices. And the first style is onomatopoeia. We have so many examples. We have charted, page 55, roaring and roar, page 57 and 55, screaming, page 58, scrambled, page 59, wept, page 56, pounding, page 55, croaking, page 55, burst, page 56, slid, page 59, and bubble, page 57. Then we have simile, at least one. Page 59 says it was like a river. It was like a small river. So the gullies on the road had water and they look like small rivers, right? We have idiophone, brrr and grrr. All right. Then we have vivid description. For example, page 58 to 59 gives us a very clear picture of how Kasai almost got to be carried away by the currents. We also get a clear description of how Magudha was drowning, and Kasai Nyarwa had to really put a lot of effort to rescue him. We have personification. Personification comes on page 56, where we are told the floods were annoyed. Do we ever get to see floods getting annoyed like human beings? No, that's personification. We are also told they are angry. That is the floods. All right, page 58. Then repetition is not a common style in high school, but in JSS, they consider that. And when you read the story, you'll see things like louder and louder on page 57. You will see her hair was her beautiful, you know. Then we have she was, page 57. Then we have dialogue as the last stylistic device, guys. Kasai and Nyarwa hold a discussion on the need to move faster so that they are able to arrive to school early. We also see Magudha joining the two and emulating how Mr. Alosa would talk to them and punish them. Page 57. The pupils later talk about the annoying floods and how they are roaring on page 57 up to 58. And there is also the 3 of them talking about how they saved Magudha, and he really appreciates their effort. The last illustration for dialogue is the chief finds the students struggling and tells them to go back home on page 61. Now I'll give you an activity, and before that let me just show my camera on the notes Though this is a book that I normally sell as a physical one, but you can see the notes quickly, and you can order the book in case you really are in need. So let's look at that. Let's start from here, the setting, sequence of story. Character, Nyarwa there, Kasaye, Mr. Andosa, already over. So the camera has refused to actually show the rest of the parts, and I don't know what to do, but I've shown the majority of the parts. So let me read a question that students might use in revision. So the gullies were deep enough to drown the small child. They could hear frogs croaking excitedly from different directions. The persistent roar of the nearby Waraya River could be heard clearly. The roar could be likened to the cries made by babies that refuse to be comforted. For the first time in a very long time, Waraya River had burst its banks. It had swept and carried along anything that was not properly rooted into the ground. Farmers who had planted crops near the river had lost all of them. The girls kept walking. Their heads were bent downwards as they gave full attention to the wet ground. They walked very close to each other. Kasaya was leading, while Nyarwa followed her from behind. Nyarwa held on to Kasaya's bag, which was strapped on her back. This way, they gave each other support and stability. "We need to move faster, otherwise we'll be late," Kasai said. "But the ground is too slippery," Nyarwa replied. All right? I hope you've got that part, and you can even get the book and check. You know, my book was lost somehow. I hope I'll get it. So the first question is, what was making Kasai and Nyarwa worry about getting late to school when it was this slippery? 2 marks. The second question is, what theme is shown in the above passage? 2 marks. The third question is, explain any style you can find in the above paragraph. 2 marks. The next question is, why was the ground too slippery? 2 marks. And the last question is, did the girls manage to reach to school safely? Why? 2 marks. So I'll try to turn the camera to just show where the notes stopped, allowing me to pass to actually show, because I had finished characters before that happened. All right, from here. When I'm doing a live stream, kupita pita nyuma kuna bo, because you'll automatically appear, you like it or not. All right. So that marks the end of our discussion in relation to this book. Thank you for anybody who was around for long. I can see one person was around for very long. I really appreciate your presence. Thank you. Bye bye.